guys, Joshua Neal here, and today we're taking a look at Hate by Design by Killswitch Engage. Remember, if you enjoy the lesson, please click like and let me know. You can also leave me any comments or questions you may have. I do my best to get back to all of those. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates, and as always, grab that full note and tab transcription downstairs so that you can follow along at home. Alright, let's get to it. Before we get started, we'll need to tune our bass. Killswitch Engage is tuned in D standard on this song, which means you're going to take all of your strings and you're going to lower them a whole step. So from low to high, we're going to have a D, G, C, and F. Now you actually only need the bottom two strings for this song, so if you don't feel like retuning the whole thing and you're just going to be playing this song, all you need to do is drop the E string to a D and the A string to a G and you're good to go. I am going to be using a pick for this song because that's what Mike D'Antonio usually uses. Most of this you'd be able to play with your fingers if you have some really good finger speed going, but there's definitely some tricky gallops in here that might be a little tough with your fingers. So I would definitely recommend using a pick on this one. Also, I'm going to be referring to all of the strings by their usual names. So I'm going to call the low string an E instead of a D, just to keep things simple. So going right into the intro, bass comes in right at the top of the song with everybody else, and that first part looks like. Mostly that. We're going to be starting on the open E string, and we're going to be playing some 8th notes followed by some 16th notes. So we'd have 8th notes for the first 3 beats, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then we're going to have 4 16th notes on the 4th beat, 4 E and So that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and Then we're going to do almost the exact same thing, except we're going to start with a 1st fret on the E string. Be 1, open, 2, and 3, and 4, E, and Then on the 3rd measure, almost the same thing again, except we're going to play the 7th fret of the A string. We're going to play this high E here. Back to the open low string, and 2, and 3, and 4, E, and 1. We're going to do a sharp catch on the open E string because the bass doesn't play along with the guitar the first couple times. So all together, so far, we've got open, and 2, and 3, and 4 E, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4 E, and 7 on the A, and 2, and 3, and 4 E, and 1. We're going to do that 3 times total, and then the very last time we do join the guitar on that little riff, which looks like. So that's going to be open E, 7th fret on the A, 8th fret on the E, so a little major 3rd there, major 3rd descending, open E, we're going to move that shape down a fret, 7 on the A string, 6 on the A string, 7 on the E string, open, and then we're going to catch the 7th fret of the A string again to finish. So that's open, 7, 8, open, 6, 7, open, 7. Just even 8th notes there. And that's right with the guitar that follows along. We've got, after that, about 3 measures, almost 3 measures of rest while the guitar sets up that main riff. We're going to join in on the last beat of that 3rd measure. So after 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. This is where we're going to join in. And it looks like this. So that's starting on the 5th fret of the E string. We've got 5, 7, 5th fret on the A, back to 7 on the E, 7 on the A, back to 7 on the E, 5 on the A, 6 on the E, 5, and then open on that and of 4. And I usually do these first 2 notes as a hammer-on just to save some time. So that's 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, 6, 5, open. And then we're into the main verse riff here, which looks like... So we're just joining in the guitars here. This one starts on the and of 4, the previous measure, that last big open E that we hit. We have and 2, and right on the third beat we're going to catch the first fret of the E string and go back to the opens, and 4, and first fret again, and 2, and then we're going to do just the first part of this moving line that we've already learned. 5, 7 on the E, 5 on the A, right back to the open E. And then we're going to continue on that open E, and 2, and 3, and then we're going to play that moving line that we did at the end of the last figure as well. 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, 6, 5, open. So all together we've got and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, or and 2, sorry, open, 1, open, 1, open, 5, 7, 5, open, 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, 6, 5, oh. When we move into the second part, you're going to hear the guitars doing a switch between just a regular power chord and playing the minor sixth over it, which would sound kind of like this. That's your cue that we've gone into the next part. The biggest change is that or really the only change is that we no longer do these first fret catches that we were doing before. It's just going to be all open strings. 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and we do that 5, 7, 5 like we did, back to the open, and then the whole figure. So instead of we can just take out the open or take out the first fret on the low E string there, and that'll give us the riff we're looking for. That'll give us what we're looking for. We're going to play that twice through, and then the last time, instead of coming back to that open E string on the and of 4 after the moving line, we're going to stay on the 5th fret. So that would look like from the moving line. So right there, instead of going back to the open E string, I stuck on the 5th fret of the E string there. And that takes us into the pre-chorus, which looks like... like a lot of that, and I'll go through all the little variations right now. So we started on the and of 4, and we're still on the 5th fret of the E string here. And 2, and 3, and 4. Right there on the and of 4 of that measure, we're going to go up to the 8th fret of the E string, and we're going to do the same kind of thing. And 2, and 3, and 4, open to the open E string. Now here, we're going to be doing some metal gallops or some Iron Maiden style. I think these are Iron Maiden style. Yes, these are Iron Maiden style. I had to think of the Trooper for a second to remember if it's this one or the other one. So we just did 5, 8, open. Now we're into these metal gallops here, and these are an 8th note to 2 16th notes, which if you can think of pretty much any Iron Maiden song, that's going to give you the rhythm that you're looking for. So that was starting on the and of 4 again, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and right on the and of 4 there, we're going to go back to the 5th fret, and we're going to start the figure over. So far, we've got 5th fret, 2, and 3, and 4, 8, and 2, and 3, and 4, open, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and on the 5th fret. of the E string right there. We're going to do that again, 5th fret, 8, go back to the gallops here, but we're only going to get a measure out of them, and then we're going to go to the 5th fret of the A string. So that was starting from the beginning of this second time through. 5th fret on the E string, 8th fret, open, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and right there is where we caught the 5th fret of the A string. And that would be and 2, and 3, and 4, and a 4. We're going to catch the 5th fret of the E string again, and we're going to start over. We're going to do the gallops for 2 measures. So 5th fret, 8, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and we're catching the 5th fret of the E string again. And we're going to go into our 4th time here, our 4th ending. Starts the same way, 5th fret, 2, and 3, and 4, 8th fret, 2, and 3, and 4, open. This time we're not going to do the gallops. We're going to have and 2, and 3, and 4. We're going to grab that 5th fret of the A string again, and we're going to just stop reasonably short on that. And 2, and 3, and 4, and that would take us into the chorus, but I'm going to go back through this pre-chorus one more time just to make sure that it is super clear. So we're starting on that 5th fret of the E string again, going through all 4 times. 5, 2, and 3, and 4, 8, 2, and 3, and 4, open. Gallops, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, gallops, 5 on the A, start over, 8, gallops, 5, 8, open, no gallops, 5 on the A. You would rest for 2.5 beats. Chorus, starting here, we're going to come in on the and a 4, and we're going to start on the 7th fret of the A string. And that chorus looks mostly like this. So we started on the and a 4, we're on the 7th fret of the A string, and it's going to go and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and then we've got this little descending scale line. 10th fret of the A, 9, 7 to the 10th fret of the E string, and we're going to stick on that for a little while. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and then we're going to do another descending line, slightly different. 10th fret of the A, 9, 10th fret of the E to the 8th fret of the E string. And that's going to be and 2, and right on beat 3, you're going to go up to the 10th fret of the A string. So just a little 5th there. 3 and 4, and 8th fret of the A string, 3 and 4, and back to the 10th fret, 3 and 4, and on that and a 4, we're going to catch the 7th fret of the A string so that we can start over again. So far we've got 7, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 10, 9, 7, 10 on the E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 10, 9, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 7. Now, if you're listening to it, and you are somewhat familiar with your minor scales, you might feel like this 8th fret on the A string that we play in the second half of this riff sounds a little funny, and it does. It's because we're using a slightly different mode. We're using the Phrygian mode rather than the regular minor scale, because there's no E natural going on here in any of the parts, in the guitar and the vocals. As the bass, we are free to swap out that regular E for an E flat. We're swapping out the 2 for a flat 2. So instead of that kind of sound, we're getting, which sounds a lot more evil, for lack of a better term. So this is a case where as the bass player, we actually have a lot of power. We can do stuff like this, which is pretty cool. So moving on through the second half of the chorus, it's exactly like the first half of the chorus, except it's a little longer at the end. So we're on the 7th fret of the A again, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 10, 9, 7, 10 on the E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 10, 9, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, and do it again, 10, 8, 10, open E at the very end of that, chorus, big open E, and we're going to cut that again reasonably short. And that's where the second verse would end up starting. So to put that whole first chorus together, we'd have 7, descending on the 10, 8, starting over, descend on the 10, other descending, slightly longer here, and we'd be right into the second verse. The second verse is very, very similar to the first verse. We come in a little bit sooner. Instead of waiting almost 3 measures, we're only going to wait a measure after that big hit. And 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And then we just pick up the verse where we normally would. So that would be 5, 7, 5, open. We're just playing opens. 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, 6, 5, 0. So we have 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Then we're going to go 2 times through the normal verse progression, which has the first fret of the E string in there. We're going to do that one more time. So if we're keeping track from the very top of the verse, this is the 3rd time through the progression. The very last time, we're going to cut out a little bit of that moving line. It would look like... So that would be starting on the open E string here, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So we're only going to get that 5th fret of the E string, 7th fret, and then 5th fret of the A string, and then we're going to cut it short. I think this was done so that the pick scrape in the guitar and the big drum fill all come out really, really clearly without any muddiness underneath it. I imagine that he might actually just keep playing live when it's less of an issue, but there's definitely no bass there on the recording, so we're going to play it that way because that's the way that it was recorded. So we just got to the end of the second verse. We're going to start going into the second pre-chorus. That's going to start on the 5th fret of the E string again. This one's very, very similar. Again, it's just extra long, and it actually gets a little simpler as we progress. So we're starting on that and a 4, 5th fret of the E string, doing the exact same thing. 5, 8, gallops. 5, 8, gallops. 5 on the A. This is where it's going to change. So we just caught the 5th fret of the E string on the and a 4 there, and we're now going to progress into the second half of this pre-chorus. The biggest change is that the gallops go away. We don't have to do the gallops anymore, which if you were having a little trouble with them like I was, that's great news. So we're starting on the 5th fret of the E string here, and 2, and 3, and 4, 8th fret. So exact same thing. Right here, instead of going to the open E, we're going to go to the 7th fret of the A string, which is actually the octave of this note. And 2, and 3, and 4, down to the 5th fret of the A string. 2, and 3, and 4, back to the 5th fret. We're going to do it again. And 2, and 3, and 4, 8, 2, and 3, and 4, 7 on the A, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to cut that one fairly short again. So that second half, we've got 5, 8, 7 on the A, 5, 5 on the E, 8, 7, 5, cut it a little bit short. We're going to go right into a chorus from there. Same kind of deal. Starts on that 7th fret. It's actually exactly the same. Almost exactly the same. So I'm not really going to go through it. I will tell you that at the very, very end, when we do that extended 8th fret on the E, 10th fret on the A that we're not going to catch the big open E on the end of that figure. We would have 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, right here. 3 and 4 and. Before we were going 3 and 4 and catching that low E string. We're just going to go 3 and 4 and on the 10th fret of the A string, and that's going to lead us into the bridge. The bridge is the intro part, except we are going to play all of the line with the guitar. So there's only a couple new things to learn. And then we'll be good to go. So starts on that open E again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and a first fret, 2, 3 and 4 E and a 7 on the A, and 2 and 3 and 4 E and a. Now right here, it's very similar to that moving line that we learned, this one. Except instead of that 7th fret at the end there, it's going to be the 5th fret. So this is open, 7 on the A, 8 on the E, open, 6 on the A, 7 on the E, open, 5 on the A. Open, 7, 8, open, 6, 7, open, 5. We're going to start over, open, 1, 7. Now this one, it's the same moving line, except we're going to swap out that 5th fret that we ended on for the 8th fret of the A. So that's open, 7, 8, open, 6, 7, open, 8. And then we would do that whole thing one more time. So I'm going to put that all together right there. Open, 1, 7, end on 5. 1, 7, 8 that we would end on. This goes right into the big guitar solo, which might actually be the easiest part of the song. Starts on the open E string, and this is all even eighth notes here. We're going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 7th fret of the A, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 8th fret of the E, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5th fret of the E, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We're going to start over. Open, 2, 3, 4, 7 on the A, 3, 4, 8th fret on the E. This time, 10th fret on the E, 1, 2, 3, 4. We would start that over. Open, 7 on the A, 8th fret on the E, 5. Start it over. Open, 7 on the A, 8th fret, 10th fret, and. So that very last and of 4, we're going to catch the open E string again right there. Open, 7, 8 on the E, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just like we do in a lot of the other parts of the song. This takes us into the final chorus, which is also the outro. It is it's a standard length chorus like we normally have, except there's some cool sliding in the bass part at the very, very end. So we'll talk through that in a moment. The first half of this chorus is exactly the same as the other choruses, so I'll go through it real quick. 7 on the A, 10, 9, 7, 10 on the E, 10, 9, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 7. This is where it's going to change. So if you're looking at the transcription, I am in the second line from the bottom on the last page. I'm looking at the second measure. We're going to start on the 7th fret of the A string here. And 2, and 3, and 4, and. Now between the and of 4 and the downbeat of the next measure, we need to get all the way up to the 14th fret of the A string. 2, and 3, and 4, and. So the way that I do it is I'm actually changing fingers in the middle of the slide. I'm changing to my middle finger. You could change to your third finger. You don't have to change fingers at all. It could totally fine. But you want to get to that 14th fret right on the beat. Now that we're on the 14th fret right on the beat, we're going to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 4, we're going to be on the 12th fret of the A string. And that's going to hold into the next measure. So that'd be and 1. Right on the and of 1, you want to move down to the 5th fret of the A string. So that'd be 14, 3 and 4, 12, 5. Now right here, we're hanging on the 5th fret for that measure, and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we're going to slide it up to the 12th fret again of the A string. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. On the and there, we're going to catch the 8th fret of the E string, and then it's going to play out normally. 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, and that would be the end. But I'm going to go back through those slides. So starting at the beginning of the second time through this chorus, we have 7, 2 and 3 and 4 and 14, 3 and 4, 12, 5, 3 and 4 and 12, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, and you're going to just let that big open E ring. And that's it. There it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, be sure to click like and let me know. You can also leave me any comments or questions you may have, as well as requests for songs you'd like me to do. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And as always, grab that full note and tab transcription downstairs so that you can practice at home. And until next time,